Have you ever woken up feeling a strange heaviness, as if your soul is whispering for you to lie down? You're not alone. Cayce believed this isn't weakness, it's a deeper message from within. Let's uncover what your soul is really trying to tell you. You know, intellectually, what you should be doing. Rising early, exercising, pursuing the grand goals you wrote down in a moment of clarity. Yet, there you are, suspended between waking and sleeping, pinned down by an invisible gravity. The desire to simply lie down all day is not a passing whim. It is an oceanic, magnetic force. It is the deep, silent current of your existence pulling you away from the hyperstimulated shores of the modern world. This is not simple laziness. Lazy people often are content in their inaction, or perhaps find fleeting pleasure in easy distraction. What you feel is different. It is a profound, almost spiritual fatigue. It is a resistance to the meaning of the action itself. When you finally drag yourself up, every task, no matter how small, replying to an email, changing a shirt, fixing a meal, feels like the lifting of a cosmic weight. You look at the people around you, the ones who seem to possess an inexhaustible, almost frightening energy, and you wonder, am I fundamentally broken? Here is the great, unsettling paradox of the modern soul. We live in an era of unprecedented comfort, technological capability, and personal freedom. Yet millions of us are gripped by an exhaustion that no amount of sleep can cure. We are told, incessantly, to hustle, to manifest, to optimize. But what if the desire to stop the irresistible urge to retreat to the stillness of the horizontal is not a sign of failure, but a signal? What if this profound inertia is the language your deepest self uses when all other avenues of communication have been severed? The mainstream explanations are well-worn and inadequate. They tell you it's a vitamin deficiency, a lack of discipline, or clinical depression, all of which might be true on the surface, but fail to address the underlying philosophical scream. They treat the symptom, the desire to lie down, without examining the cause, the desire to escape the meaningless structure you are being forced to uphold. You are exhausted not because you have done too much, but perhaps because you have been doing the wrong things, for the wrong reasons, in a life that feels profoundly inauthentic. Consider the remarkable insights of Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet. Cayce believed that physical ailments and emotional fatigue were rarely isolated incidents. They were echoes, vibrations emanating from the soul, attempting to correct a spiritual or mental misalignment. He saw the body as an instrument whose tuning depends on the clarity of its purpose. If you feel compelled to lie down, could it be that your body is not failing you, but shielding you? Is it possible that the inertia is a defense mechanism deployed by the subconscious mind to prevent you from running full speed toward a life that contradicts your deepest inner calling? Think about that for a moment. The very exhaustion that makes you feel useless might be the most purposeful action your soul can take right now. It is a veto. It is the existential pause button. It is the moment where the spirit refuses to keep playing a role in a play it didn't audition for, and whose script it despises. Your soul is not whispering. It is collapsing onto the stage, demanding the curtain be lowered. It is saying, stop. Not this way. Not for this. This deep-seated longing for stillness is an almost primal resistance to the external tyranny of the clock and the calendar. What if the exhaustion is simply the sound of your soul mourning the loss of its true direction? What if the intense physical heaviness you feel is just the spiritual weight of all the suppressed truths, unexpressed creativity, and abandoned dreams you carry? We must look deeper than the biochemistry. We must venture into the shadowy intersection of psychology and philosophy to understand this crushing need for withdrawal. If the soul uses the body's refusal to move as its final desperate message, then we must become expert listeners. We must decode the message hidden within the fatigue, the inertia, and the profound, persistent desire to simply turn off the light and return to the horizontal. What precisely is your soul trying to tell you when it forces you to lie down all day? The answer lies in the psychological and philosophical forces that have systematically stripped your life of genuine meaning, a process far more pervasive and insidious than you realize. The moment you accept that your inertia is a message, not a malfunction, the focus shifts entirely. We are no longer discussing fatigue. We are discussing meaning. And the hidden problem, the one that drives the soul to collapse, is the systematic erosion of meaningful labor and authentic identity in the modern era. Let us look to philosophy and psychology to dissect this malaise. Friedrich Nietzsche described the condition of the last man, the one who blinks, who has invented happiness, but who has lost the capacity for true passion, struggle, and creation. The last man desires safety, comfort, and longevity above all else, resulting in a profound spiritual flatness. Your overwhelming desire to lie down all day is, in essence, the last man in you, demanding to cease the performance of a meaningless routine. You are not exhausted by hard work. You are exhausted by trivial work. You are tired of being a cog in a machine whose function you neither respect nor understand. This is the tyranny of the shoulds, the life prescribed by social conditioning, not internal conviction. As Carl Jung taught us, the psyche demands integration. When your outer life, your work, your relationships, your consumption is radically divorced from your inner self, the shadow, a powerful and often negative force, gains strength. Your inertia, the inability to move, is the shadow's way of sabotaging the facade you have painstakingly built. It is a rebellion against the persona, the social mask you wear to please the world. When the persona is too heavy, the body simply refuses to carry it any further. It forces the retreat necessary for the soul to process its deep, unacknowledged contradictions. This leads us to the heart of the existential crisis. Jean-Paul Sartre's concept of bad faith. Bad faith is the refusal to accept the terrifying, beautiful reality of our radical freedom. You are free, every moment, to choose your meaning. Yet you act as if you are forced into your current existence by circumstance, duty, or necessity. The desire to lie down is bad faith manifesting physically. It is the soul trying to press the undo button on a series of choices it did not truly make. It's the subconscious saying, if I can't choose to live authentically, I will choose not to live at all, even if just for a day. Gabor Mate, in his work on addiction, provides another crucial lens. He argues that addiction or any compulsive behavior, including the compulsion towards inertia, is an attempt to solve a problem of pain. The modern world is structured to generate a low-grade, constant, emotional pain, the pain of comparison, the pain of being unseen, the pain of unfulfilled potential, and the pain of alienation from nature and community. Lying down all day becomes a form of self-medication, a withdrawal from the source of the pain, a brief, silent moratorium on the suffering of inauthenticity. It is a desperate, often unconscious, attempt to self-soothe a traumatized inner landscape. Edgar Cayce's readings reinforce this psychological pressure point by focusing on the purpose of the spiritual journey. Cayce emphasized that the soul's true sustenance is not found in external acquisition, but in service and alignment with divine purpose. When your actions are driven purely by ego, by the need for validation, or by financial survival that offers no intrinsic joy, the spiritual body starves. The resulting fatigue is not just physical, it is a soul sickness. Cayce suggests that the body and mind are exhausted because they are carrying the energetic burden of an existence that is fundamentally misaligned. The soul is telling you that the fuel you are burning is toxic, and the engine must be shut down before catastrophic damage occurs. Think of the contrast drawn by Viktor Frankl, the father of logotherapy, who found meaning even in the horrific conditions of concentration camps. Frankl's patients who survived were often those who still possessed an unextinguished why, a reason to live, that transcended their immediate suffering. If your why is merely to pay the bills or to keep up appearances, it is too thin, too fragile to sustain the weight of your consciousness. When the why collapses, the body collapses with it. The desire to lie down all day is the body's prayer for a worthier, deeper why. The hidden problem, therefore, is not a lack of willpower, but a profound lack of will to meaning. Your resistance is sacred. It is the core of you screaming for spiritual renovation. But this silent protest comes with a high price, silently shaping your reality in ways you may not yet perceive. If you continue to ignore this collapse, you risk falling into a trap far more insidious than simple tiredness. We must now examine the unseen consequences of allowing this profound inertia to dictate your life, and how this withdrawal, meant as an act of self-preservation, can ironically become a slow form of self-destruction. If the inertia, the profound urge to lie down, is a message, a soul veto against a meaningless life, then the unseen consequence of ignoring it is that the intended act of self-preservation transforms into a trap of self-betrayal. You believe you are resting, but you are actually entering a state of arrested development, where the soul's desperate message is muted and its critical energy is internalized and weaponized against the self. The first and most insidious consequence is the cognitive and emotional drag known as psychological entropy. In physics, entropy is the measure of disorder. In the psyche, it is the state where your mental energy is spent not on creation or engagement, but on managing internal conflict. Every moment you spend lying down, oscillating between the desire for rest and the knowledge that you should be doing something, generates massive internal friction. This friction drains you more than any physical labor ever could. The exhaustion becomes self-perpetuating because the mental debate, should I get up? Why can't I get up? I'm failing, consumes the very energy needed for action. Cayce repeatedly connected mental harmony to physical health, suggesting that a mind divided against itself produces a toxic, acidifying effect on the body. Your very attempt to escape conflict by retreating to bed becomes the source of an even deeper, more corrosive conflict. The second consequence is the slow erosion of personal agency. Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of pessimism, recognized that human life is driven by an endless, insatiable will. While he saw this will as the source of suffering, he also understood that life is intrinsically tied to volition. When you consistently surrender to the inertia, you are teaching your subconscious a dangerous lesson that the world is an overwhelming force you cannot influence. This isn't just about missing deadlines. It's about losing the muscle of choosing. The more you lie down, the more the world shrinks to the size of your bedroom, and the more terrifying the act of stepping outside becomes. You become a passive recipient of circumstances, driven by the current of least resistance. This loss of agency is the opposite of the soul's intended message, which was to reclaim agency by choosing a more authentic path. Instead, you choose inaction, and inaction is simply allowing external forces the prescribed life, the persona to win by default. Furthermore, this withdrawal facilitates a process of societal alienation and spiritual atrophy. Aldous Huxley, in his critiques of modern consumerism and mass culture, warned of a society that anesthetizes itself with distractions, preventing genuine confrontation with existential questions. Your desire to lie down, while initially a protest, quickly becomes its own form of anesthesia. It's a retreat not just from the busy world, but from the necessary suffering, the existential agony that precedes profound transformation. True growth, as Nietzsche argued with his concept of amor fati, love of one's fate, requires embracing the struggle by seeking refuge in the horizontal. You avoid the hard, clarifying work of defining your own values in the face of a valueless world. The soul, deprived of the challenge and friction necessary for its development, begins to wither. The fatigue you feel is not just the body being tired, it's the spirit becoming increasingly malnourished. This insidious cycle means that the energy you save by not participating in a meaningless life is immediately consumed by the shame and guilt of not participating. This negative emotional feedback loop, the shame of inaction triggering further withdrawal, is what locks you into this state of perpetual low-grade collapse. You become addicted to the comfort of the horizontal, not because it is genuinely restful, but because it is the only place where the external demands of the world can be temporarily silenced. You trade the loud, obvious stress of productivity for the quiet, internal decay of stagnation. The consequences are clear. A life lived perpetually in retreat is a life unlived. You are not protecting your true self. You are burying it under layers of unexamined guilt and fear of choosing. This state of inertia, intended by the soul as a temporary recalibration, becomes a permanent state of suspended animation, a kind of spiritual coma. To escape, you must stop treating the symptom, the fatigue, and start treating the cause, the lack of authentic meaning. The time for passive retreat is over. The soul's message must be answered with a radical shift in action. We must now confront the core choice and find the rebellion that breaks this spell. The profound inertia is a spell cast by a life misaligned. The rebellion, therefore, must be a radical affirmation of misalignment, a deliberate, counterintuitive act that prioritizes meaning over momentary comfort. This is the moment to stop trying to force yourself to do the shoulds and start listening to the musts. The first act of rebellion is to accept the exhaustion not as a weakness to be overcome with caffeine or discipline, but as a spiritual fact demanding a change in direction. Stop fighting the collapse. Understand it. Your soul is telling you that the life you are living is not worth the energy expenditure. Therefore, the escape is not found in greater effort, but in greater discrimination. Nietzsche's philosophy of the will to power provides the blueprint for this escape. It is not a call for brute force or domination, but for the constant, creative striving to overcome one's own limitations and to impose one's values onto the world. When you feel the urge to lie down, your will to power has been stunted by being channeled into external validation, the persona. The rebellion begins when you consciously redirect that power towards self-overcoming. Instead of trying to force yourself to perform meaningless tasks, force yourself to confront one small, authentic must. This could be writing one honest sentence about what you truly desire, throwing away one thing that represents a life you no longer want, walking for 5 minutes without a destination, simply to feel your body moving under your own, unforced will. The key is that the action must be intrinsically meaningful, not just productive. This shift is radical. You are prioritizing the health of your soul over the efficiency of your schedule. This small, authentic act breaks the cycle of psychological entropy because it creates a moment of congruence. The internal war stops, and energy is released. Cayce's readings often stress that the body must be purified not just physically, but mentally. the rebellion must involve cleansing the mental environment. This means an aggressive, even hostile removal of the input that feeds the inertia. Aldous Huxley warned that in a culture of distraction, truth is drowned out by a tide of irrelevant information. Your desire to lie down is often a silent protest against this mental pollution. The counterintuitive solution is to actively seek discomfort by removing the digital blankets, silencing notifications, deleting the most addictive apps, and sitting in silence. When you deny your mind the easy distraction, you force the deep, difficult questions, the soul's actual messages to finally rise to the surface. This is the spiritual friction necessary for growth. Consider the example of the existential heroes celebrated by Albert Camus, those who recognize the absurd, meaningless nature of the universe, yet choose to act with passion and value anyway. They don't wait for meaning to be given, they create it through their actions. Your inertia is defeated when you choose to act in spite of the feeling, not because of a sudden rush of motivation. This is the ultimate act of reclaiming Sartre's radical freedom. You choose to get up, not because you feel like it, but because the act of choosing is itself the definition of your authentic self. The final element of the rebellion is the redefinition of rest. If lying down all day is not true rest, then what is true rest, as the soul intends, is recreation, the act of reconnecting with the fundamental source of life-giving energy. This might be deep engagement in an art form, focused conversation with a loved one, or simply spending time in nature. These activities, though they require physical energy, give spiritual energy back, unlike passive withdrawal, which only drains mental fuel. The next time the inertia hits, ask not, how can I escape? But what would feed my soul right now, regardless of conventional productivity? This shift from passivity to active, conscious, and authentic action is the battle. But winning the battle requires the final, deepest truth, the ultimate realization that reveals why your soul speaks this way at all. The ultimate truth, the deep realization your soul has been collapsing to communicate, is this: you are not exhausted by the work you have to do, but by the self you have to pretend to be while doing it. The desire to lie down all day is the literal manifestation of your soul, trying to shed the massive, heavy, ill-fitting armor of the false self. Edgar Cayce's life readings frequently return to the concept of oneness, the idea that the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of an individual must be aligned, and that the individual must, in turn, be aligned with the divine or the universal creative force. When this oneness is fractured, energy leaks out like water from a cracked vessel. Your fatigue is not a deficit of physical energy, it is a profound deficit of spiritual congruence. The false self, the one that seeks approval, chases metrics, and adheres to the shoulds, is a tireless worker, but it is constantly running on borrowed fuel, the ego's desperate need for external validation. This fuel is highly volatile and quickly depleted, leaving you empty and collapsed. The revelation is that true, inexhaustible life force energy, what Cayce might call the Christ consciousness or the higher vibration, comes from operating solely from the authentic self. This authentic self does not need validation. It is intrinsically valuable. It does not chase meaning. It creates meaning through its mere existence and action. When the authentic self acts, the energy expenditure is replenished instantly, because the action itself is a connection to the universal flow. Consider the implications of this final truth through the lens of Dostoevsky. His characters often grapple with profound moral and existential crises, driven to extremes of action and inaction. Those who suffered most were those who tried to live according to a theory, an external system, or an imposed morality, the false self. Those who found redemption did so by embracing the raw, often chaotic, truth of their own hearts, the authentic self. Your collapse is a necessary, painful, and ultimately benevolent moment where the theoretical life must die so the true life can begin. The inertia is your soul saying, I refuse to move unless I can move authentically. This radical paradigm shift redefines everything. Your fatigue is a gift. It is the internal thermostat forcing a systemic shutdown until the temperature of your life matches the value of your soul. It is your ultimate boundary. Your purpose is not found. It is felt stop, searching externally for the grand plan. Your purpose is revealed moment by moment by the actions that bring you into that state of congruence, the actions that, even if physically demanding, leave you feeling more alive, not less. The horizontal is the catalyst, not the destination. The time spent lying down was not wasted. It was a forced incubation period, the chrysalis phase required for the old self to dissolve. You were not lazy. You were in deep spiritual gestation. The only way out of the horizontal trap is to commit to a life where your actions are so deeply rooted in your core values that the energy flows naturally. You must make your choices based on one metric alone. Does this bring me closer to the genuine me? Or does it demand that I put the heavy armor back on? The next time you feel that magnetic pull toward the floor, pause. Don't fight the body. Interrogate the message. Ask it, not with anger or frustration, but with deep curiosity. What is the small, true, authentic action I am refusing to take right now? What truth am I unwilling to speak? What authentic desire am I suppressing for the sake of comfort or conformity? The life you want, the one defined by vital energy, deep meaning, and passion is not waiting for you to conquer your fatigue. It is waiting for you to shed the pretense. Go forth, not with the energy of obligation, but with the quiet, devastating power of congruence. Be haunted by the realization that every moment you spend performing the false self is a moment stolen from your ultimate truth. The time for dreaming of change is over. The time for being the change is now. Stand up, not as the person the world demands, but as the soul your body has been waiting for. The moment of total realization is not a flash of light, but the heavy, sobering weight of a truth you always knew, yet stubbornly denied. Your life is the summation of your deepest, most difficult choices, and inertia is merely the result of refusing to make them. The false self, as we have established, thrives on external validation. It is a borrower, eternally indebted to the opinions and expectations of others. The authentic self, however, is a creator, a sovereign entity whose energy source is internal and inexhaustible. When Edgar Cayce spoke of soul evolution and purpose, he was referring to the imperative to align the lower self-ego, physical desires with the higher self-spirit, truth, service. Your physical collapse is the ultimate manifestation of the lower self protesting the misalignment. It is the ego crying out because it is being asked to carry the weight of a spiritual burden it was never designed to bear. Think of it in Jungian terms. The process of individuation is the lifelong task of becoming whole, integrating the shadow, embracing paradox, and standing alone in one's own truth. The desire to lie down is a temporary but necessary psychosis, a complete break from the collective norm to force a radical self-assessment. It is the psyche demanding that the entire operating system be rebooted. When you surrender to the horizontal, you are, paradoxically, performing the most profound act of spiritual labor possible, the quiet, painful dismantling of a life built on a lie. The final, most empowering truth is that meaning is not a commodity you acquire, but a lens through which you perceive and interact with the world. Viktor Frankl discovered that even in the utter dehumanization of the concentration camps, Freedom remained the freedom to choose one's attitude towards suffering. Your current suffering, the crushing inertia, is not meaningless. It is pregnant with meaning. It is forcing you to define what is truly sacred to you. If your soul is telling you that nothing in your current routine is worth the energy, then the spiritual mandate is clear. Burn the routine. You must embrace the radical understanding that your entire energy management system is flawed. The world taught you that energy is gained by resting and spent by working. Your soul reveals the inverse. Energy is gained by authentic engagement and lost by inauthentic performance. The more truthfully you live, the more vibrant you become, regardless of the physical demand. The moment you make a choice that aligns with your deepest, most fiercely protected truth, be it leaving a soul-killing job, speaking an uncomfortable truth to a loved one, or simply dedicating an hour to a creative pursuit you had abandoned, the inertia instantly breaks. The burden is lifted because the body is no longer being asked to carry the weight of your suppressed reality. This is the ultimate, non-negotiable step. You must stop trying to fit your vast, unique, unrepeatable soul into the small, predefined box that society handed you. The cost of the box is your life force. The price of freedom is the fear of standing outside the box, alone and radically responsible for your own meaning. The collapse was the prelude. The stillness was the counsel. The truth is the mandate. Do not leave this insight in the realm of theory. Let it become the catalyst for the single, most important action you will take today. Do not seek the grand, sweeping life change first. Seek the small, decisive act of self-reclamation. What is the single action, however small, that you would take today if you knew, without a doubt, that you would be judged only by the coherence between your inner truth and your outer life? Go now, and let your movements be dictated not by the desperate demands of the clock, but by the quiet, powerful imperative of your own soul. The horizontal was your refuge. Let the vertical now be your throne. Your true life begins the moment you stand up not to work, but to be.